Everyone thinks he is a homeless loser, but he turns out to be a 1,000-year-old god of war after being saved by the girl. Yedo looks like your average homeless man who always wears the same pair of tracksuits. He is a self-proclaimed delivery god who boasts about fast, affordable, and reliable service in any field of life, from cleaning mold on bathroom tiles to finding lost cats. However, that is just one part of his life, and the other involves hunting down ghosts that are created from the negative emotions of humans. He's really a minor god without a shrine who dreams of becoming the greatest of all gods in Japan, but his journey is not easy. One day, Yedo is at a school where the negative emotions due to exams have turned into a giant snake-shaped ghost. He commands a servant by his side to turn into his divine weapon so that he can eliminate the ghost. Yedo jumps towards the ghost, and the woman transforms into a dagger and reaches out to his hand. He fingers the dagger, enchants it with his divine power, and then slashes the ghost with it, purifying it with just one slash. He strikes a cool pose after the ghost is eliminated, but the woman reminds him to revert her to normal. She smells herself, complains that she reeks of Yedo's sweaty palms, and drops his self-esteem to zero quickly. She then drops another bombshell on him by declaring her intention to quit working with him. Yedo tries to convince her to stay, but she screams, saying that she cannot stay with a poor minor god with no shrine. She pulls the oldest trick in a woman's book and cries loudly, and Yedo decides to accept her wish before he is accused of being a molester. The woman runs away, teasing Yedo, and he shouts at her to not return to him when he makes it big and becomes a god among gods. Later, he leaves his contact details on public property so that people can contact him for jobs. Suddenly, he gets a call about a cat being missing and takes up the job to look for it. He looks for the cat in the market, unaware that his fate is about to intertwine with a girl looking at the poster of the same missing cat. The middle schooler named Hiyori Iki is a martial arts fan who gets wet when she sees Baki. She keeps on talking with her friends as they head back home from school, and when Yedo walks past her, she seems to notice something special about him. She can't get her eyes off him, and when Yedo spots the missing cat and runs after it, she pushes him away to save him from Truck Kun's cousin, Us-kun. Yedo doesn't get hit by the bus, and even though Hiyori takes the hit, she is not ishikade. As everyone gathers around the bus, Hiyori lectures Yedo, saying that he could have died for being so reckless. However, he points her towards the bus, and she is flabbergasted to see her body lying in front of it. Hiyori soon wakes up in her body with her friends and her parents by her side in their hospital. Her dad concludes that she is lucky that Truck Kun was not on duty and she got only a few scratches from the accident. Hiyori is more worried about the boy she saved from the bus, and her dad writes a schizophrenia test for her. Her friends also don't remember seeing anyone, and Hiyori falls asleep trying to convince them that she saved someone's life. At night, she wakes up, hears the cries of all the people in the hospital, and feels their negative emotions flow into her. She is too confused about it when the clock strikes 12 and Yedo comes out from under her blanket and asks her if she can hear the voices from the afterlife. Hiyori is startled and becomes a feral cat, but then she recognizes Yedo from the accident. He thanks her for saving him, stating that she was the first human who tried to save a god like him. Hiyori immediately calls 911 to report that someone has escaped from the Florida asylum, but Yedo assures her that he's a real god and tells her his name, which she has never heard before. Yedo is hurt, but he tells the girl about his dream to become a megastar with millions of followers. He then asks for her name and tells her that they are even now since he has made sure that she is fine. He jumps out of the window and Hiyori tries to stop him, but she falls asleep while calling out his name. She soon returns to her normal life but falls asleep anywhere without notice. The memory of seeing Yedo becomes really faint and she tries to piece together hints to remember him. On her way home, she notices the missing cat poster and recalls that Yedo was chasing after it, so she decides to look for the cat to find him. She feels dizzy while chasing the cat and almost becomes Catwoman herself, but then she smells something good, which is Yedo holding the catnip to look for the missing cat. He finds the cat, who is afraid of something, and immediately runs to him. As Yedo comforts the cat, he hears the voice of ghosts, and eyeball ghosts pop up all around him, saying that he smells nice. They surround him from all sides and attack him, and even though they are just cannon fodder, Yedo can't fight them without his divine weapon, so he runs away with the cat. He goes to a field where a giant toad ghost confronts him. Yedo kicks it away and then runs to it, calling out for his divine weapon because he forgot that she left the job. He realizes it too late and is about to be spanked hard by the toad when suddenly Hiyori comes there and takes him away. Yedo notices her cat-like tail and wonders what is happening, but there is no time for that as the toad comes before them and attacks them with its tongue. After dodging its attack for a while, Hiyori feels bold and rushes towards it, but the toad catches her leg. However, she recalls her favorite martial arts move to be used in this case and kicks the toad flying away. Yedo is shocked and Hiyori is overjoyed by her performance, giving the toad time to recover and attack. Yato saves Hiyori and picks her up as he runs away from the ghost. Once they are in a safe zone, he wonders how the same girl saved him twice, while Hiyori wants answers about their meeting earlier. Just then, she notices her tail, and Yato tells her that her soul slipped out of her body, which is lying unconscious over the fence. The girl panics and asks him if she is dead, but he tells her that she is still fine. Just then, Hiyori's soul falls back to her body, merging with it again. Yato then delivers the cat to its home first before taking Hiyori back to hers. She wakes up soon and realizes that something smells nice, but when she realizes Yato is carrying her, she punches him and calls him a pervert. She gets off his back and then starts panicking about being away from her body. Yato tells her that because of the accident with the bus, her soul seems to be displaced, and now it is stuck between the world of the living and the afterlife. He explains that right now, Hiyori is like Schrodinger's cat, being both a human and a ghost. Hiyori panics and asks Yato if she will stay like this forever, and he asks her to accept this as her new reality. She cannot accept it and begs him to do something about it since he is a god. Yato tells her that she needs to pay him for that and puts up his hand. Hiyori is scared, thinking that he wants 5 milli, but all he needs is 5 cents. Hiyori is shocked to learn that his rates are so low, but she still gives him the 5 cents, and he accepts her money and her requests, saying that their fates are connected now. Soon after that, Hiyori starts falling just about anywhere, and now she can also see ghosts ranging from tiny harmless floofs to giant murder machines. One day, as she falls asleep while changing for the physical education class, she decides to explore the city with her spiritual body. She has fun frolicking around on pigeon territory when she sees a group of giant serpent ghosts. She is creeped out by the ghosts and remembers what Yato taught her about them. They were all residents of the afterlife, created from negative emotions of humans and came in all sorts and sizes. Only infants, animals, and those who live between the mortal realm and the afterlife, like her and the gods, can see them. Speaking of Yato, she remembers that he hasn't contacted her ever since he took her money and calls in while he is busy leaving his contact details on a moving train. However, at her call, he teleports right next to her and assures her he will do his job for her. As a few passersby think Hiyori is talking to herself, she asks Yato how he is different from the ghosts. He claims to be a resident of the afterlife, a war god born from a prayer. Hiyori is not so impressed by his tall talk, and he points out that she has left her body again. As she panics, Yato tells her to beware of the evil ghosts who will try to corrupt her and make her cross boundaries to become completely like them. Hiyori is a bit tense on hearing this and tells Yato to heal her immediately or return her money. She calls him useless, hurting his snowflake feelings, but he accepts that he is really useless right now because he doesn't have a divine weapon, a human spirit that becomes a weapon in the hands of a god. Hiyori is shocked to learn this, but then Yato gets a call and leaves to do a job, leaving the girl alone. She wonders how she can force the useless god to work faster when she gets inspiration from her favorite martial artist and decides to take her fate in her hands. She starts looking for a divine weapon for Yato, but all the ghosts she contacts run away from her. Suddenly, she sees a storm of negative emotions in another location and rushes there, hoping to find someone willing to work with her. Meanwhile, the one she's working so hard for is cleaning molds and fixing leaking taps for 5 cents. As he drinks the beer his client gave him as a tip, Yato wonders what he should do about Hiyori's request when he gets a call from her, saying that she found a divine weapon for him. Yato teleports to her and finds that she has found a giant spider demon as his divine weapon candidate. He pisses his pants and runs away with Hiyori, asking her if she is so stupid that she cannot differentiate between regular spirits and evil ghosts. The spider chases them, and in the middle of running, Hiyori slips out of her body. That turns out to be a good thing, because in her spirit form, she can perform Spider-Man-level feats with ease. She dodges the attack of the spider and prepares to kick it in the face when Yato pulls her tail, and she feels like all her nerves have been simulated at once. He saves her from being eaten by the ghost spider, but gets his hand bitten instead. He manages to break one of its teeth, and then takes the stunned Hiyori to safety. As they take a breathing break, Hiyori notices that Yato's hand has a strange discoloration. He calls it the corruption, which happens when a god comes into contact with an impure spirit, and tells Hiyori not to touch him or it will spread. After that, he tells her that her tail is the lifeline that connects her spirit form to her body, and if it gets cut, she will never be able to return to a human again. Just then, the spider ghost attacks them, and as they run, Hiyori complains that she wants to be a wireless ghost. He tells her to shut up and not try fighting ghosts because she is not cut out for it. He tells her that he will find a divine weapon on his own when he spots a potential candidate far away. With the awesome Samsung Galaxy Zoom feature in his eyes, Yato spots a pure human spirit belonging to a teenage boy and thinks he will do it. He runs to the lost spirit and uses his divine power to establish a contract with it, giving it a name and a place to belong to his side. He names it Yuki, and the contract is finished just with that. Yato calls the spirit to aid him, and it turns into a sword without a handle, and Yato sees the entire life story of the boy who became his divine weapon. He feels dizzy on seeing it, and taking this chance, the spider ghost gobbles him up, but that was a big mistake as Yato awakens his powers within its belly and shreds them from inside. After he is done purifying the ghost, he falls to the ground and starts crying about the painful life of his new partner. Later, he goes to the shrine of another god and uses the holy water there to treat his corruption, when Hiyori comes running to him in her real body. She praises the sword, and then Yato shows her the sword's real form by transforming it into a boy. She freaks out upon seeing it, and even the boy named Yuki is too stunned to process everything. He then suddenly realizes it is cold, and Yato takes off his jacket to give it to him as he introduces himself as his new master. However, Yuki woke up and chose violence, telling Yato that his jacket reeks of sweat. He gladly accepts Hiyori's muffler, and then demands to go somewhere warm, but Yato is too stunned by the insult he just received. Soon, Yuki learns that he'd hit the jackpot of bad luck by becoming Yato's divine weapon. His master searches for clothing and food in dumpsters, and then expects him to worship him and serve him well. Since they have no money, Yato asks Hiyori to treat them to something. Yuki returns her scarf quite rudely and then goes to sleep, just as the waitress comes to ask Hiyori for her order. However, as Yato calls to her, she suddenly notices him and Yuki and wonders where they just appeared from. Hiyori is confused too, and Yato tells her that gods are not invisible to humans, but they are barely noticeable, just like you all are to your crushes. He claims that until he is noticed, he merges with the background, and when people get away from him, they forget about ever meeting him. After that, Yato and Yuki glutton out on Hiyori's treat, and she is disgusted by that. Later, as Yato is asking the waitress for free sweets, Hiyori and Yuki introduce themselves to each other and bond over their mutual dislike for the loser god. Hiyori wants to know more about Yuki's life, but his memories of his human life have been wiped clean, even though he knows that he is dead. Just then, a cat comes there, and they start playing with it. When Yuki gets a good look at Hiyori, he starts having pervy thoughts about her. Yato comes out of the restaurant just then, and a chill runs down his spine. He lectures Yuki about having naughty thoughts because a god and his divine weapon share mind and body, and he can sense all his wicked thoughts. Yuki feigns ignorance and starts quarreling with Yato when he gets a call for a job and decides to leave right away. Hiyori does not want him to go without talking about her job first, so she runs to grab them, but they teleport away, and she falls unconscious. However, her soul teleported along with Yuki and Yato, who got his balls crushed under the weight of the two. Suddenly, mist surrounds them, and robed priestesses appear all around them. Yato feels like he has been lured into a trap when another god comes out, reciting a poem that makes dead trees bloom. From the poems, Hiyori recognizes him as Tenjin, the god of education, and bows down to him along with Yuki. They claim that Tenjin is a real god with a harem of female servants, as opposed to a scammer like Yato. His self-esteem sinks like the Titanic, and then Tenjin tells Yuki that since he is Yato's divine weapon, he should not bow down to other gods as it is disrespectful. After that, Yato asks Tenjin why he called him here, and the old man asks him to take care of some ghosts for him since he is busy with the exam season. Tenjin knows that Yato often sleeps in his shrine without permission and wants him to hear this request if he wants to keep doing that. He teases him with a big note before tossing him a 5-cent coin and then transforms his pipe into a servant to show Yato around the area. Yato is shocked when he sees that the woman in front of him is the divine weapon who quit her job without 2 weeks' notice. He is petrified from shock, and the woman introduces herself as Mayu and tells Hiyori and Yuki that she was once Yato's servant, but left him because he was worthless. After they quarrel like a divorced couple, Mayu takes Yato and his group to the railway crossing, where a large number of ghosts gather regularly, and they possess people with weak minds, making them jump in front of speeding trains. Hiyori is sad to hear that and says they should definitely destroy all the ghosts, but Yato says that those who wish to die should not be stopped because there is no way to save their souls. Hiyori is angry with him and runs away, and Yato decides to leave the place too, but Mayu stops him and asks him to work when he has been paid in advance. However, Hiyori thought he was not going to kill the ghosts, so she decided to take the matter into her own hands. She goes to a railway platform where a ghost latching onto an unemployed loser is trying to make him jump in front of the train. Hiyori kicks it away, but doing that attracts all the ghosts in the area. They overwhelm her and toss her over to the tracks, where they bind her so that she is crushed by the train. Luckily, Yato arrives there at the exact moment and slashes the ghosts holding her. Hiyori jumps up and lands safely on top of the train, where Yato tells her to just wait here and watch an expert do his job. The train is quickly approaching the area entrusted to Yato by Tenjin, and he sees a student being coaxed by ghosts to step onto the tracks. Yuki feels like they won't be able to save him before he comes in front of the train, but Yeto asks him to believe in him. He runs forward and jumps in front of the train, enchanting his sword to purify the ghost. With one slice, he cuts off the ghost, but Yuki is too powerful and cuts trees and poles as well, without Yeto's will. The next day, Hiyori brings lunch for him and asks him to finally listen to her request. He decides to take her to a secluded place full of small shacks and starts calling out for a girl named Kofuku. Soon, a cheerful, pink-haired girl comes running to him and hugs him tightly. As they celebrate their reunion, Hiyori and Yuki feel awkward, and then Yeto drops the bombshell on them, introducing the girl as Kofuku, his girlfriend. Hiyori and Yuki stare at them in bewilderment, and then Yeto tells Kofuku that he made a new divine weapon recently, but right now he doesn't have enough to provide for him. Kofuku doesn't hesitate in giving him some money, and just then, a man drop-kicks Yeto, telling him to stay away from his lady. As he is about to pummel him, he notices there are other people here, so he invites them inside. There, he introduces himself as Kuro, Kofuku's divine weapon. Hiyori and Yuki are shocked to learn that Kofuku is a goddess who is romantically involved both with her divine weapon and Yeto, who don't get along well. Yeto tells Yuki to be careful with Kuro as he claims that Kuro's name is on the Epstein list, and he kicks him out of his house because of this. Kuro talks with Yuki about being Yeto's divine weapon, while Kofuku pounces on Hiyori for some girl-on-girl action. After she is done with her, she tells Yuki to be careful around Yeto, because despite his gentle looks, she has heard rumors about him being a terrifying god. Before Yuki can ask her what she means, Yeto appears and takes his divine weapon away because they have a job, and Hiyori follows them. Yeto's next client is a man trying bungee jumping without the rope, and before he can jump, Yeto teleports right over his head and throws him down. As the man falls, he realizes that he couldn't even call his mom to say goodbye, but Yeto falls along with him, narrating the entire catalog of services he offers. Hiyori falls on him and disbalances him for a moment, but then the man gives Yeto his card and tells him that his company went bankrupt, so he was planning to kill himself. He was calling his mom, but he fumbled a digit and called Yato instead. Yato has no problem with that and asks him to tell his story from the beginning, and the man obliges. He says that a few months ago he met a schoolgirl while returning from work, and he puts Hiyori's picture in place of her face just for fun. He says that the girl seemed to be from a very strict household, so he felt bad for her and took her out for dinner, and that is how they started dating. Yeto shouts for the FBI to arrest the man, but he is adamant about telling his full story first. He claims that they went on a lot of dates, but every one of them had some terrible incidents. Slowly, his performance at work started declining, and before he knew it, he was jobless and bankrupt. Despite this, the man wanted to be with his girlfriend, and since he couldn't keep her happy, he planned to commit suicide. After hearing his story, Yeto asks the man to show him the picture of the girl, and he is not surprised when he finds that it is Kofuku. Hiyori and Yuki are taken aback, and then Yeto tells them that Kofuku is the god of poverty, who will kill any and all good luck you have. He tells the man to cut all ties with her because not only does she have another man, she's way older than she looks. However, the man is not ready to forgive his true love and prefers dying over forgetting Kofuku. Yeto punches him, telling him that someone who can give his life away so easily is not cut out to be in love, and that brings the man to his senses. Next, he turns to Yuki, who is nervous because he doesn't know what to do, but Yeto tells him to have faith in himself. He turns Yuki into a weapon and then cuts off all ties the man had with Kofuku, saving him from untimely death. Later, Yeto tells Kofuku about the man who was going to die because of her, and Kuro is in tears as he accuses her of cheating on him. He lectures her, saying that he doesn't want her to get involved with humans as she only brings bad luck to them. After that, Kuro praises Yuki's abilities, saying that cutting someone's bonds with others was a very hard thing. After fooling around for a bit, Yeto and his group leave Kofuku, but before going, Hiyori wants to confirm that the rumors about Yeto being a scary god were fake. Kofuku tells her that the rumors were true and Yeto has killed humans and divine weapons alike. Hiyori is terrified, but Kuro assures her that it is a thing of the past when there were several wars and Yato had only one job, which was to kill people. He claims that all gods are born from the wishes of people, and for minor gods, their existence itself is a challenge. They must fulfill any wish that comes their way, and that is why Yato had to kill people to survive. Hiyori is terrified after learning this, and as she leaves the place, Yeto confronts her, asking what she was talking about with Kofuku. Instead of giving an answer, Hiyori asks him why he introduced her to Kofuku, and Yeto puts his hand on her shoulder as he asks her to go to Kofuku and Kuro in case anything happens to him. However, the only thing she can focus on is his sweet smell. Just a little away from them, Yuki is tossing stones in a pond as he remembers how Yeto praised him earlier. Suddenly, a girl with multiple tattoos engraved on her body appears before him, and Yuki is aghast as he realizes that all of them are her names. Yato comes running there, and he calls the girl Nora and asks her why she is here. However, she gets up and tells him to call her by the name he gave her, because she is his divine weapon too. Nora vanishes after telling Yato that she will wait for him to call upon her, leaving everyone shocked. Soon after that, Yato takes Yuki for training so that he can unlock his new abilities. He shows a tiny ghost to him and asks him to create a barrier between them. Yuki is not so confident in his skills, but as he follows Yato's instructions, he creates a barrier that no ghost can pass through. Hiyori is amazed and asks Yato if she can also do such cool tricks, but he replies that only divine weapons have the ability to create barriers like this. He then remarks that Yuki created the most powerful barrier in his first try out of all the divine weapons he knew, and that immediately reminds Hiyori of the girl with many tattoos. She asks Yato if she is a divine weapon too, and he nervously replies that she is just a friend with benefits to many gods. Hiyori is not impressed by learning that Yato has so many scandalous affairs, so she decides to look after Yuki. She pulls him closer, saying that a loser like Yato can't care for the boy. Yuki is just a boy in puberty, so he gets easily aroused by just being near her, and Yato feels the shock because of his perverted thoughts. He doesn't want to let Yuki go with Hiyori, because then he would have to deal with this sensation every time, so he pulls her away. After a long game of tug-of-war, Hiyori takes him home anyway, leaving Yato distraught. Yuki is surprised to see that Hiyori comes from money, and her big house is empty because both her parents are out working. Naturally, he gets some naughty ideas, but then she lets him rest in her elder brother's room. Hiyori is happy that she can have a sleepover with a cute boy without distractions because no one can notice him. However, soon her parents come home and Yato follows them without letting them know. He steals drinks and food from their fridge, and Hiyori's mom almost notices him. Later, Hiyori scolds Yato, asking what he was doing here uninvited, and he tells her that usually he sleeps in shrines because they are secret territory and ghosts can't attack there. However, her home had no such benefits, which is why Yuki was not safe here because he was afraid of the dark. She soon learns that he was not lying when Yuki comes to her room at night, claiming that he can't sleep after her dad turned off the lights in his room. She tells him to sleep next to her, and despite knowing that it is a thirst trap, Yuki takes the offer. He is panicking because he has never been closer to a girl before, and then Hiyori tells him that he smells nice, just like his master. Soon, she falls asleep and Yuki can't control his instincts, so he turns back and tries to cop a feel. However, Yato appears behind him just before he can touch the girl and drags him out. He lectures him about being a pervert, but Yuki doesn't want to hear this from a man who has many side chicks. He tells Yato that he already has another divine weapon, so he shouldn't even meet him, and runs away, leaving him dumbfounded. The next day, Hiyori takes Yuki out shopping, and he tells her that she doesn't need to spend money on him because no one can notice him and he can borrow things as he likes. He takes his skateboard and Hiyori stops him, telling him that it was theft and he should know better than this. She returns the skateboard to the shop and then tells Yuki that she will buy one for him later, but he is gone by that time. Just then, Yato calls out to her from a children's playground and tells her that he can sense whenever his divine weapon is up to no good. He could sense his lewd thoughts last night, and right now he felt him given to another temptation. Yato says that the immoral feelings of the divine weapon turn into pain for the master, which is how gods learn what is right and what is wrong. However, those morals don't work when a god decides to do evil things, and they can do whatever they want. Hearing his words makes Hiyori realize that what she heard from Kofuku about him being a violent god is true. She is a bit nervous being in front of him, so she runs away to find Yuki, but leaves her body behind. Meanwhile, Yuki is wandering around the city wondering if Hiyori is still mad at him, when he notices that it has already gotten dark. He runs around to some place that is not dark yet when he hears a girl crying for help. He turns around and the girl notices him, so she clings to him and asks him to take her to her parents. She cries, saying that everyone seems to ignore her, and she sees scary eyeballs. Yuki realizes that the girl is already dead, but she does not know it, and when she requests that he stay by her side till her mother comes to pick her up, he agrees. He sits with her under a streetlight, where he breaks the bad news and tells her that her mother won't come. The girl gets upset and starts walking away while crying, and Hiyori comes there just as Yuki is about to stop the girl. Suddenly, all the ghosts in the dark come out and tempt the girl into coming to their side, claiming that her mother is with them. The ghosts are about to take the girl, and Hiyori tells Yuki to use the barrier-making ability to save her. He runs into the dark and puts up a barrier to protect the girl from the ghosts while she tightly hugs him. He apologizes to her for saying hurtful things, but then the girl tells him that he smells nice. Yuki is confused, but then he looks at the girl's face and finds that she has started to be corrupted. He is taken aback and falls to the ground, and as the girl approaches him, he loses his concentration and the barrier vanishes. Just as the barrier is gone, the ghosts take over and eliminate all light from the area, and Yuki is frozen stiff from fear. Hayori tries to save him as a giant ghost attacks him, but she also gets caught in the ghost body slam. Luckily, Yato saved both of them at the last moment, and Yuki requests that he save the girl who went inside the ghost. Yato hears his request and jumps down, converting him into a sword and enchanting him to defeat the ghosts. However, Yuki chickens out as he sees the girl's resemblance to the giant ghost, and Yato cannot deliver the finishing blow. Yuki says that they have to save the girl and not kill her, but Yato tells her that they can only save her by purifying her now. Taking advantage of their indecisiveness, the ghost overwhelms them and then punches Yato away. As he gets up, he tells Yuki that once a soul has been corrupted, it can only feel unending pain, so he must become strong and put the girl out of her misery. Despite Yuki being too terrified to do anything, Yato charges forward and purifies the ghost, but he is feeling a lot of pain because of his servant's lack of courage. A few days pass after that, but Yuki has not recovered from the shock of killing the girl, and his PTSD returns without warning. He sees ghosts in the tea Hayori prepares for him, and when he goes to the shopping mall to escape from the house, he is terrified of the smallest ghosts. Yuki curses Yato, blaming him for his condition. He claims that he used him against his will, and that is why he is so paranoid. He vents out his frustration on a glass pane, but as the salesman in the shop doesn't notice him even after that, Yuki decides to rebel and steals a skateboard, sending another bout of pain to Yato. He is having a fun ride on the stolen skateboard, but then Yato comes and puts brakes to his fun. He asks about the skateboard, and Yuki says that Hayori bought it for him. It seems luck isn't on his side, and Hayori comes there at that exact moment, and she is backed into a corner as Yato asks her about the skateboard. She is scared that Yato will punish Yuki for stealing, so she lies and claims that she bought it for Yuki, so he lets it slide this time. After that, he pays attention to the red sunset sky, claiming that during this time, the boundary between this world and the next is blurred, and those who live between them become more active. Just as he finishes his dialogue, Yato looks up to see a lion-riding, whip-cracking mommy who really hates him. She attacks Yuki with her whip, and Yato pushes him away from its path at the last moment. Hayori is shocked, but Yato tells her not to react and to feign that she cannot see them. The mommy goddess calls Yato a god of calamity, and he returns the greeting, calling her Bishamon, the strongest god of war he has met. Yuki asks if she is a god and why she is attacking them, and Yato replies that he got on her bad side a long time ago, so she's been aiming for his life ever since. Yuki wants no part of their fight and wants to run, but Yato assures him that Bishamon will not spare him since he is his divine weapon. She attacks him, and Yato dodges before turning Yuki into a sword and running away from her. As the mommy goddess chases him, Hayori wonders why Bishamon, the god who delivers justice to sinners, is pursuing Yato. She recalls his words about going straight to Kofuku in case something happens to him and decides that the time for action is now. Meanwhile, Bishamon is after Yato and using her divine weapon, Kazuma, who resides in her earring and acts like her jar of yes, she finds the correct place to pin him. She sends her lion to stop him from escaping and then chases after him on foot, determined to end his life today. Yato hides from her because he is tired, and when Yuki complains about it, he blames him for his weakened condition. He tells him that because he is having a lot of negative and selfish emotions lately, he has been going through hell and commands him to man up. Yuki ignores his words and asks him if he is really going to kill another god using him, and Yato says that he may have no other choice. He explains that everything Bishamon wields, from her clothes to her lion, is a divine weapon. Her navigator, Kazuma, is the most skilled of her servants, and because of his help, she is nearly invincible. Yato rushes to the open, hoping to finish Bishamon while he still has some strength left. She attacks him almost immediately, and as Yato blocks her attacks with his whip, he realizes that he cannot fight against her right now. He dodges her attacks, but Bishamon uses her whip to grab his leg and then manifests her gun to shoot him. Kazuma pinpoints the exact location she needs to target, but Yato shows his skills and cuts the bullets. He hits the whip and sends it crying away in pain, infuriating Bishamon, who attacks him at close quarters with her gun. She declares that she won't let him kill any divine weapon again. Yato tells Bishamon to leave him alone as it has been centuries since that incident, but she is in no mood to spare him and summons another one of her guns and shoots him point blank. Yato dodges the attacks and then runs away, with Bishamon giving chase. On the other hand, Hayori has reached Kofuku's store and tells her that Bishamon is after Yato. Kofuku knows about their enmity and tells the shocked Hayori that the divine weapon Yato once killed belonged to Bishamon, and that is why she wants revenge. Kuro claims that they have no place to interfere in a battle among gods, but Hayori begs them to help him. Kofuku is curious and asks Hayori if she has a crush on Yato or if he is blackmailing her somehow, because anything other than that is unlikely. The goddess of poverty doesn't mind helping Hiyori in exchange for a monetary offering and asks her to lead the way to Yado. Hiyori slips out of her body at the exact same moment and leads Kofuku and Kuro along while following the sweet scent coming from Yado. Yado is resting in a forest after getting far away from Bishamon, and Yuki asks him if he really killed the mommy's divine weapon. He asks him if he will kill him too if he becomes useless, as he thinks that Yado already has another divine weapon called Nora. His negative thoughts sting Yado again, who tells him to stop being a wimp, but Yuki accuses him of being a coward and says that his hands are sweating much more now. As they quarrel, a sharp gust of wind chops some trees and sends Yuki flying, but Yado calls him back as his sword instantly. He then sees Bishamon in front of him wielding a big-ass sword, and she asks him to say his last words. Yado takes his fighting stance, and Yuki tells him to stop because no way in hell can he survive colliding with her giant sword. As Bishamon rushes towards Yado, Kofuku arrives there, and both the fighting gods stop on seeing her. She commands Kuro to turn into his weapon form, which is a fan, and Yado and Bishamon are terrified because they know what her abilities are like. Kofuku swings her fan as she tells them to stop fighting, and her power opens up a door to the underworld while creating a powerful tornado that blows Yado away. Despite the threat of ghosts rushing out of the portal, Bishamon is not ready to leave Yado and commands her lion to attack him. Yado is in pain because of the lion's bite, but thanks to the power of plot armor, Nora arrives there and restrains the lion, giving Yado the chance to free himself and land a blow to him. Bishamon immediately calls the lion back and asks her navigator Kazuma to turn into his human form to heal the lion. She still wants to go after Yado, but Kazuma sternly stops her, asking if she is willing to risk the life of her divine weapons just to get revenge. On the other side of the storm, Hiyori comes running to Yado, who asks her to hide and not let Bishamon know that she is connected with him. As the storm subsides, Bishamon tells Yado that she will let him live today, but she will return for her vengeance. Before going, she tells Yado not to be corrupted when he fights her the next time because she hopes to face him in his prime. Yado is taken aback that she realized his condition, and after Bishamon has left on her lion, Kazuma stays behind and bows to him before joining his master. Yado and others also flee, and later, while Yuki sulks in Hiyori's home, Yado tries to purify himself from the spreading corruption but fails. He wonders if things won't work out between him and Yuki, when suddenly, Nora appears in front of him and tells him to ignore the unstable boy because he can always freely use her. She seduces him as she claims she wants him to call her by the name he gave her because they have some awesome chemistry together. On the other side, Hiyori comes to Yuki's room to give him his lunch, but she finds Yado munching on snacks there. She is creeped out that he snuck inside, but then becomes irritated when she learns that Yuki ran away from the house and he didn't even try to stop him. She runs to find Yuki and comes to Tenjin's shrine, where the old god comes out to greet her. She asks him if he saw Yuki, and he replies that the boy came here in the morning looking for work. He declared that he could not work with Yado, who was annoying, broke, and too full of himself, and even had another divine weapon. Yuki wanted to leave him if there was a way, and Tenjin first thanked him for coming to him, but then rejected his request. He told the boy that even if he gave him a name right now, he would become a Nora. Hiyori is surprised to hear that name come up and asks Tenjin what it means. He tells her that Nora is not a name but a title, which means stray, and is given to the divine weapon that belongs to the streets. He claims that it is a disgrace for a divine weapon to have more than one master, and that is why Nora weapons are hated by all gods. Tenjin tells Hiyori that the divine weapons that take many names are very likely to betray their masters, and that is why most gods steer clear of them. In most cases, divine weapons have to become free of their old master to serve a new one, but for Noras, that is not the case because they are used to perform jobs one won't give to their own divine weapon. Hiyori is asked to learn this and asks Tenjin if he has seen a Nora of the same age as Yuki, but he refuses to talk more about that disgusting topic with her. Later, she goes to a high spot hoping to locate Yuki, but she smells a sweet scent that she does not recognize. She looks around and then notices Bishamon searching the city. Hiyori is terrified and takes a step back, but then finds Kazuma right behind her. He knows that she can see them and is a close acquaintance of Yado, and Hiyori thinks that she is going to die now. She tries to run away, but Kazuma restrains her and then uses another one of his spells on her. Soon, Bishamon comes there and Hiyori has a feeling that she will become the lion's dinner now. However, neither Bishamon nor her lion can notice her presence, and Kazuma casually keeps talking about business with them. Bishamon leaves on her patrol to find more ghosts with the lion, and as Hiyori watches them go, she feels like they are a SWAT team. Soon, Kazuma tells her not to get too involved with gods as he frees her from his spells. Hiyori panics because he called her by her full legal name and address, and Kazuma explains that his powers allow him to expand his senses while also hiding things from others. As for Hiyori's name, he got it by stealing her wallet and telling her to keep a low profile if she doesn't want to end up in trouble with Bishamon. Hiyori wants to know why Kazuma is helping her because he is supposed to be Yeto's enemy. He replies that even though Yeto is their enemy, he is also their savior. Hiyori doesn't understand much, and then Kazuma asks her if Yeto is doing well because, judging by the corruption he had the other day, he seemed to be in trouble. He explains that the corruption was caused internally, and the only way for that to happen is through a misbehaving divine weapon. Kazuma tells Hiyori that they need to get rid of Yato's divine weapon if they want to save him because if Yuki keeps on misbehaving, Yeto will fall ill and he might lose his life. While Hiyori is worried about him, Yeto finds Yuki and takes him along because they have a job. However, that job involves helping at a local convenience store at night. Yuki is not happy about it, but Yeto tells him that it is better than nothing. Just then, Kuro comes there, followed by Kofuku, and Yeto bonks her out of the shop before she brings poverty to his client. While Kuro and Yeto are fighting over how to treat a god like Kofuku, Hiyori arrives there. She blushes as she tries to hide the fact that she found Yato by following his mysterious scent, and then Kuro moves on to business. He says that Kofuku received a job the other day, but since it is not her style, he wants him to take it. As Yato reluctantly takes the job, Hiyori asks him why he has been looking pale recently. Just then, he feels another bout of pain and immediately knows that Yuki did something. He finds him standing in front of the counter and immediately checks the money to make sure that he has not stolen anything. Yuki expresses disappointment, saying that even his god doesn't trust him. He then runs away only to trip on the feet of the unlucky god and drop the tip jar he stole. He is cornered because his little theft was exposed and he runs away. Yeto doesn't stop him and just changes his work clothes to take Kuro's job request, leaving him to care for the store. Yato reaches the location where he has to eliminate a ghost and Hiyori follows him there to talk about Yuki. He says that he needs his divine weapon to kill the ghost, but Hiyori says that she wants to talk about other things. Yeto claims that he knows it too, and it is time to resolve this issue once and for all. Hiyori is afraid that Yato will kill Yuki, so she slaps herself to wake up and then grabs Yeto's face to tell him that he should stop treating Yuki just like a tool and acknowledge that he is a human. He is taken aback by her sudden request when he feels Nora's presence nearby. She is talking to Yuki again, telling him that he might be pretty, but he is hollow and useless. Yato and Hiyori arrive there just then, and Nora asks him to use her to kill whatever gets in his way. However, Yato refuses her enticing offer and summons Yuki as his weapon, telling him to not mind the crazy girl and instead focus on the giant moth ghost they have to slay. Yato chases after the moth despite being too ill to move, and then enchants his sword to cut through it. However, he does not have enough power to finish the ghost in one hit because Yuki has lost faith in him. As Yato tries to get good grip on his sword, he spots Nora still standing in one corner with her arms stretched out for him to call her, but he refuses her temptations. The moth swoops on him and carries him away, but Yato uses a secret trick to free himself and injure the ghost. The holy water he had stored earlier has become useful now, and Yato pours it over his sword as he tells Nora to get lost. He claims that Yuki may be a lousy and ungrateful brat, but he found him and named him, so he isn't going to leave him just like that. He enchants the sword again and cuts the moth, successfully eliminating it this time. Nora is disappointed, but then one of her friends with benefits teleports next to her, saying that it was sad that she got betrayed. Yuki is curious about her, but Yato tells him not to look and takes him away. They walk away, and as Hiyori watches them, she is worried about what is going to happen to them now. She keeps thinking about Kazuma's warning that Yato will die if Yuki is not stopped, when suddenly, he teleports right next to her in the school washroom. She is flustered and starts attacking him immediately, even as he tries to explain that it is just a misunderstanding. After getting beaten blue and black, Yato explains that he once left his number in this washroom for potential clients to find, and someone called him today. He breaks open the door to a toilet to reveal a boy sitting there, and Hiyori beats him too for being a pervert. She is furious at all three boys, but then the boy named OJ tells her that he was hiding here because of his bullies. He starts crying as he tells his tale, and Hiyori offers him her handkerchief. Yato had already guessed this much because most requests that come from school are about bullying. OJ cries, saying that he wants to run far away from this place, and Yuki is annoyed by his yapping. Yato tells his servant not to hate the boy for being a snowflake because he is the same as him. Yuki is offended by this statement and claims that he is not a snowflake before running away. Yato doesn't mind him and tells Oji that he should try to be as expressive as Yuki, and for that he gives him a secret weapon to use against his bullies. Oji is terrified, and Yato tells him that the consequences of using his gift can be very serious. However, he still takes it, and Hiyori screams at Yato for letting a boy take such a dangerous weapon. Yato replies that he just wants Oji to go crazy, and if he has any self-control, he won't harm others. Hainori believes there has to be another way to solve things, but Yeto is not feeling too well and decides to take a break. As he leaves, he says that being here could push Yuki off the edge too. Hainori wants to know more, but he leaves without elaborating. Hainori keeps calling his number and looking for him before she eventually finds him sleeping in the infirmary. She is tempted as she sees his exposed back and decides to see if the corruption has spread throughout his body. Yeto wakes up as she is checking him out, and he gets punched again, even though it is not his fault this time. Hainori changes the topic and asks him about Yuki, and Yeto tells her that the boy is at a difficult age and he will stay a teen forever. That is why reigning over him will be difficult. Meanwhile, Yuki is already on his edge and he is still angry at Yeto for comparing him to a loser like Oji. He decides to explore the school in the meantime, and being in an empty classroom seems oddly nostalgic to him, even though he has no memories. As he solves a difficult math question, the students return, and seeing them be friends with each other makes him even more lonely. He is furious that he has no friends, and parallel to him, Oji is also miserable because of all the bullying. He suddenly starts hearing the voice of ghosts telling him to kill his bullies if he hates them so much, and tempted by their words, he takes out the secret weapon Yeto gave him. He approaches his bully and gives him a death stare strong enough to put him on the back foot. Oji remembers all the humiliation he has felt and takes out the secret weapon, which is just a stationary cutter, from his pocket and tosses it to the bully. He recalls Yeto's words, who had told him to give his opponent a weapon too in case he decided to fight, and it was time for that now. Oji pulls out his own cutter, and with the ghosts tempting him to cross the line, he walks towards the bully. However, before Oji can hurt him, he recalls that Yeto also told him not to harm anyone if he wants to keep his humanity, and he drops the cutter. Luckily, his act was enough to make the bully literally piss his pants, and he ran away like a little girl. Oji also falls to his knees, and Hainori comes to look after him. Yeto was watching him too, and he was impressed that the timid-looking boy had enough self-control to not harm anyone. Oji says that he remembered his words, but now that he has dealt with the bullies, he will be ignored by everyone again. Yeto walks to him, telling him that life is not a competition to make the most friends, and he should be happy even if he has just one special person in his life. As Oji walks back to his classroom, Yeto hopes that everything will work out for him. After that, he says that he also wants someone special, but then suddenly he feels intense pain because of Yuki, who is crying by himself since he does not have friends. He sees students leave the school and runs after them, calling them to take him along, but none of them hear his voice. As Yuki cries, Yeto feels more pain and hopes that he realizes the truth now. Yuki now knows that he cannot return to the human side, no matter how hard he wishes for it. He must live with that truth. However, he is too bitter and decides to vent out his frustration by smashing the windows of the school. As soon as he starts doing that, Yeto loses consciousness because the corruption has now spread over his entire body. As it keeps spreading, Hainori tries to wake Yeto up, and when he doesn't respond, she panics and leaves her body. She falls on top of Yeto and contracts the corruption that hurts like hell, even though it barely infects her hand. She picks him up and takes him to Yuki, who has finished breaking the windows. He is shocked to see Yeto and Hainori trying to become like the people in the Avatar, and Hainori tells him that every time he does something bad, Yeto suffers because of it. He tried to endure it to not hurt his feelings, but that has put him in serious danger. She feels sorry for Yeto that she sided with Yuki earlier, and now she screams at him to come with them. Obviously, she is going to Kofuku's house because that's the only place she knows that can help. However, just as Kuro and Kofuku open the door, they are horrified to see that Yeto and Hainori are down with corruption. Kofuku wants to help him, but Kuro doesn't waste a single second and puts a barrier between them, and Hainori keeps on begging them to save Yeto. She cries and Kuro allows only her in through the barrier. He asks Kofuku to help purify the girl, and she takes her to the bathroom and creates some fresh holy water to help her. Hainori says that Yeto needs it more than her, but Kofuku replies that it is too late for that, and if Yuki is not punished soon, Yeto will surely perish. Kuro takes up the role of doing that for himself and leaves to get some help from other divine weapons. Hainori wants to know how Yuki will be punished, and Kuro tells her about the process to remove the corruption called purification. It needs 3 divine weapons to perform, and that is why he needs 2 more. Kofuku tells him to hurry as the chances of impurification succeeding are quite low, and Kuro also knows that Yeto won't last the night if left untreated. He removes the barrier before heading out and warns Yuki not to move from his place or he will kill him with his own hands. Yuki still does not seem to care and has a devil-may-care attitude about things. Kuro first goes to Tenjin's shrine to beg for help in the purification, but all his divine weapons are nervous because if the process fails, they may lose their lives. However, Mayu volunteers to help Yeto as he was once his master, no matter how pathetic he was. Kuro thanks her in Tenjin and rushes ahead. while Tenjin is angry on Yeto's behalf and thinks that any divine weapon that hurts his master so much deserves to be slayed. Kuro goes to other shrines to borrow a divine weapon, but no one answers his requests. He calls Kofuku to tell her about the situation, and she cries that Yeto will die if they don't find anyone else to help him. Hiyori comes out of the purification shower just then and decides to look for a divine weapon herself. She thinks that Nora will definitely help Yeto, but she will also kill Yuki, so she cannot rely on her, and that is why she goes to Bishaman's shrine despite Kazuma's warning to stay away from her. She starts screaming Kazuma's name, but he is busy in a meeting with his goddess and other servants. However, as a messenger tells him about the visitor, he arrives behind her and shuts her mouth before she attracts Bishaman's attention. Back at Kofuku's store, she's throwing a tantrum because Kuro couldn't find a third divine weapon to help him, and Mayu asks Yato to keep breathing. Yuki is annoyed and decides to leave the place despite Kuro telling him to come back. However, he bumps into Kazuma, who sternly tells him to go back. Kuro asks Kazuma why he is here because Yeto is his group's sworn enemy, and he replies that he personally owes Yeto a big one. He asks Kofuku to lecture Hiyori about going to the enemy's base for help later, and first goes to check up with Yato. He finds that his condition is too critical, and the purification is most likely to fail, so he asks him to remove Yuki's name and banish him. Yeto refuses to do that, and Kazuma turns to Yuki to ask him what he did to put him in this condition. Yuki says he didn't do anything, and Kuro asks him to take off his shirt to prove his innocence. Yukio removes his shirt and finds that there are multiple gross and creepy ghost eyes popping up on his back. Everyone is grossed out, especially Yuki, who had not noticed the spread of corruption on his body and the ghosts before. Kuro curses him because now he realizes how much Yuki hurt Yato, and together with Mayu and Kazuma, he decides to purify him. They surround Yuki from 3 sides and recite a prayer to purify him while retaining his name. They cast barriers simultaneously and trap Yuki in a triangular prison. As he screams, Yeto also feels his pain, and Hiyori is horrified as she asks Kofuku what's happening. She explains that the purification ceremony is like cutting off rotten flesh from a wound, and that is why it is both a punishment and a purification. She claims that only divine weapons can judge the sins of other divine weapons because they all used to be humans once. The judges must not stop until the purification is complete and the guilty spirit has confessed all its sins and repented for them. Kuro asks Yuki to count his sins, but despite the pain, he refuses to accept his mistakes and screams that he will kill him. Doing that aggravates his sins, and he starts turning into an evil ghost himself. The 3 divine weapons tighten their barrier around him, and as Yuki collides against them and cries in pain, Yeto coughs out blood. Hiyori wants them to stop because it is too cruel, and Kofuku stops her, saying that she should not look if she cannot digest it. Yuki cries, first saying that he did nothing wrong to get punished like this, and then accepting that he stole and broke things because he was furious. He claims that it is unfair for living people to have everything while they have nothing. His corruption starts spreading even further, and he becomes closer to being a ghost as he recalls the day he was at school when he realized how lonely he truly was. The corruption starts covering the name Yeto gave him, and the 3 divine weapons know that if it is completely gone, there will be no hope to save Yuki. Yeto is also suffering from pain, and as he notices the name being taken over by the corruption, he realizes he needs to call Yuki before he loses himself to the dark side. He remembers all the happy memories they made, but he cannot gather enough strength to take his name. However, Hiyori rushes to Yuki and pleads with him not to turn into a ghost. He blows her away, but she reminds him that Yato still cares about him even though he has given him hell, and her words reach Yuki and stop him as he is about to cross to the dark side. She tells him that if he is going to hurt and betray Yato even more, she will stop being friends with him. Yuki is taken aback as he hears her word, and then Yeto also gathers his remaining strength to call his name. He tells him that even though he cannot live as a human anymore, he has been granted a name, so he should live as well as he can. Yato takes Yuki's name again and rebrands it on his body, dispelling the corruption spreading over it. Yuki returns to his senses and bawls his eyes out while apologizing for everything he has done. His ghostly wings start disappearing as he counts his crimes of trying to molest Hiyori, stealing money, and breaking windows. He apologizes and promises to never do it again, and soon the purification is successful. Later, Kofuku confirms that both Yeto and Yuki are fine now, and he makes him apologize to Hiyori for the trouble he caused her. Yeto first thanks Kuro and others and then turns to Hiyori, realizing that if she had not helped him multiple times throughout the process, both he and Yuki would have died. Hiyori jumps at them and hugs them while crying, saying that she is glad both of them are safe. Yuki cries too, even Kuro sheds some manly tears on seeing their emotional reunion. Soon, Yuki starts working out at Kofuku's store part-time to earn some money to repay for the theft he has committed. Also, he plans to be the breadwinner since Yato is practically useless. One morning, Hayori comes to visit him and Yuki nervously asks her if she can lend him her used books and notebooks so that he can continue studying. Hayori is moved to tears on hearing this and Yato joins her, leaving Yuki embarrassed as his two proud parents cry after he came back on the right path. However, their joy is short because Kofuku comes to them and asks Hayori to pay up the money for helping her and Yato before. Hayori is taken aback and asks Kofuku how much she charges per request, and she is utterly devastated that she wants $10 million for saving Yato twice. Yato bargains on her behalf and brings Kofuku down to $1 million, but Hayori is furious that he is throwing all the debt on her while he has still not fixed her body and shows him some WWE moves that hurt him a lot. After that, Yato and the group go to Tenjin to thank him for his help the other day. Tenjin scolds him for letting his corruption get so bad, and Yato replies that he did it on purpose so that his talented divine weapon could learn from his mistakes. The two gods start to bicker with each other while Mayu leads Hayori and Yuki away. Hayori notices one of the servants of Tenjin is missing and Mayu tells her that she has been expelled because she hurt Tenjin with her negative emotions. Mayu explains that the girl got overwhelmed with negative emotions after reading some prayers, and in doing so, she hurt her master. Tenjin has very strict rules about this, and he expelled the divine weapon even though she apologized. Mayu claims that even though it may be considered harsh, expelling the girl was a mild punishment because she could find another master. Hearing this, Yuki realizes how lucky he was and once again thanks Mayu. She tells him not to let the guilt from that action bother him because that will also hurt his master. Instead, she asks him to be devoted to Yato, who refused to abandon him, and Yuki swears on his name to serve him well. They look at Yato, who is asking Tenjin for advice regarding Hiyori's case. He tells him about the accident and how Hiyori involuntarily slips out of her body, and since he doesn't know how to deal with it, he has been putting her request off all this time. However, now he feels seriously indebted to her, so he plans to take up her requests seriously. Tenjin calls him a pathetic loser before telling him to cut his ties with her, because doing so might permanently cure Hiyori's strange condition. However, Yato does not seem to be very fond of the idea. The next day, Hayori talks with her friends about their New Year plans and they decide to visit a shrine together. Her friends talk about getting blessings from gods before telling Hayori some rumors about a new god whose name was quickly gaining traction. They say that anyone who prays to the god Rembu to remove someone from their life has his prayers answered without fail. Later, Hayori brings her old notebooks for Yuki to practice some lessons, but he is having a hard time at it. Yato picks up his notebook and draws some nice sketches on it before bragging about the skills he has picked up during his long tenure as a god. Yuki asks him to use his talent to earn some money, and Hayori enjoys them quarreling with each other. Yato freezes as he sees her and remembers what Tenjin told him about cutting ties. Soon, Hayori contacts Yato, who is busy on a job about her New Year plans, and she wants to visit Tenjin's shrine first thing in the new year. He is upset because she is visiting another god's shrine, but he agrees to come with her. The New Year's Eve comes and Hayori gets ready in a traditional outfit to meet up with Yato. On the street, she notices a strange man pass her by for a second, but as she turns back to look at him, he vanishes. The strange man is the god Rembu, who is working with Nora. Both of them have some unsettled business with Yato, and they feel that getting rid of the girl who has had his full attention lately will be a good way to start things up. However, Nora asks Rembu to keep his patience because they may find a good way to use the girl. Soon, Hayori meets up with her friends who are shocked to see her all dressed up, and when they learn that she's going to introduce them to a boy later, they spend the entire evening teasing her about her supposed boyfriend. Hayori then offers her prayers to Tenjin and asks him to let her enjoy a normal high school life. After that, she spots Yato in the crowd and chases after him, but forgets her body behind. However, Yato and Yuki are not even near the shrine because they are busy with jobs. Yato gets a message about slaying a ghost that appears right next to them and attacks them. Yato transforms Yuki into a sword and hacks off the scorpion ghost's tail and arms before enchanting the sword and purifying it. He praises Yuki for doing the work well, but then they notice that the ghost they defeated was not the only one here. Yuki panics, but Yato tells him to calm down and trust in their teamwork. They begin fighting against the ghosts, while Rembu watches over Yato to see how strong he is. On the other hand, Hayori reaches a vacant lot while chasing Yato, but she is shocked to learn that it was actually Nora who tricked her into coming here. She is furious that Hiyori played a great role in Yuki's purification, and that is why Yato did not cast him away. Nora wants to deal with her right away and summons the phantom wolves she has tamed with magical masks to hunt her down. The wolves attack her, and Hiyori dodges by jumping up to a pole. However, it is not so helpful as the wolves climb up the walls to attack her. She barely frees herself from the attack of one wolf and then runs away to stay safe from them. She runs all night and is finally cornered just around dawn. However, the sun rises just before the wolves attack her, and they all vanish as the sunlight hits them. Hiyori is relieved, but not for long, as Nora comes there and says that her prototypes failed. She then tells Hiyori that more scary things are waiting for her because a long-forgotten god of calamity named Reibu has woken up from his slumber. Nora claims that Reibu can kill anyone, humans, ghosts, and gods included, and this time his target is Yato. Hiyori is terrified, but she believes that Yuki will keep Yato safe. Nora doesn't agree with her and then tells her that her presence has made Yato weak, so she should just disappear from this world. On the other side, Yato and Yuki have been fighting against the scorpion ghosts the entire night, and finally they have managed to round the remaining ones. Yato finishes them all in one move, and the one remaining ghost attacks him from behind, but he gets killed too. He then releases Yuki into his human form, and they run to meet up with Hiyori. As they leave, many tiny scorpion ghosts rush towards a box with the same eye mark as the masks, and Reibu crushes the box along with them because he is not satisfied with Yato's current strength. Soon Yato and Yuki approach Hiyori, just as she parts ways with her friends. They wish her a happy new year and ask her to treat them to some food, but she looks dumbfounded and asks Yato if he is a homeless person who needs some money. However, she remembers Yuki just fine and asks him if the man in the dirty tracksuit is his friend. As Yato and Yuki get back to Kofuku's store, he throws a tantrum, saying that Hiyori has forgotten only him. Yuki tells him to calm down and suggests that it might be amnesia, and Hiyori will remember him with time. However, Yato cannot accept this and swears to turn Hiyori back to normal. The next day, as Hiyori comes to give Yuki some of her notebooks, Yato leads them to the place where they first met because of the cat. Hiyori doesn't remember anything, and Yato draws the cat to ignite her memories, but even after recalling the cat, she still doesn't remember anything about Yato. Instead, she gets creeped out by how desperate he is and leaves for home, but Yato holds her hand and tries to be like a cheesy romance drama hero, asking if she has really forgotten him. Hiyori doesn't think of him as anything more than a molester and tosses him into the bushes before running away. Yato is even more frustrated now and decides to create a memory picture show for Hiyori to recall everything they have gone through. After being dissatisfied with pen and paper, he spends a great part of his savings to buy some drawing sheets and colors, and now even Yuki starts to understand how severe the situation was. Just then, Nora appears in front of them and Yato realizes that she is the culprit behind this incident. Nora declares that she stole Hiyori's memories of him because she has no need for them. She holds the ball containing the memories she took away from the girl and taunts Yato, calling him a poor god because no matter how many requests he fulfills, no one remembers his name. She tells him to return to his true self, but Yuki snaps Yato out of her hypnotization. Yato asks her what she wants, and Nora displays a name given to her by another god. Yato recognizes the name just as Reibu appears on the scene and summons Nora. Yato is taken aback by his appearance because he was presumed dead. Yuki asks him about the guy wearing the weird mask, but there is no time for that as Reibu attacks them and Yato converts Yuki into a sword to fight him. Reibu pushes Yato back for a while, but then he gets on the offense and gives him the intention to kill. Reibu puts some distance between themselves and then stabs the ground to burst a water pipe. He controls the water and attacks Yato with it, who dodges and blocks the jet streams before running away. Reibu follows him, but Yato uses an electric wire as a catapult and rushes towards him. However, after he cuts him, he finds that it was just a water clone, and the real Reibu attacks him from above. Yato blocks his attack, but then Reibu tells him that this is not his real power and asks him to remember his real self. His words start having their effect on Yato, but just as he is about to lose control of himself, Yuki snaps him out of it. Yato manages to get away from Reibu, but he isn't able to beat him and gets his ass whooped. He looks at his sword and realizes that it is in bad shape, so he asks Yuki to return to his human form to avoid further damage. Reibu is disappointed in him and calls Nora back too. They vanish, but not before Nora gives Yato a challenge and tells him to defeat Reibu if he wants Hiyori's memories to be restored. They'd vanish but leave behind a terrible storm of ghosts that springs other gods into action. Yuki goes back to Kofuku's place to get treated and meets Kazuma there, who came to ask Kofuku if she had anything to do with the recent storm. On the other hand, Yato has visited Tenjin to learn how Reibu could come back from the dead. Tenjin tells his girls that Reibu was once a human assassin, but after his master disposed of him, he turned into a god of disaster when many of his fellow soldiers started praying to him. He fulfilled the requests of anyone who wanted to kill their enemies, and during the war, he killed humans, ghosts, and even gods. He fought alongside Yato, but as time passed, he was forgotten and presumed dead. Yato wonders how a minor god who relies on killing can survive to this day, but more than that, he wants to bring Hiyori's memories back. Tenjin tells him that it is better to leave things as they are because, by doing so, he will treat Hiyori's weird condition. Yevon decides to accept his advice and walks back home with a heavy heart, and on the way he meets Yuki, who has heard the story about Rabu from Kazuma. He wants to bring Hiyori's memories back, but Yato tells him to forget about the girl, and Yuki is heartbroken. He is frustrated and returns back to his room, where he sees the memory album Yato has created and thinks there is still hope. He contacts Hiyori, who is in class, and seeing a caricature on her notebook, she realizes that she really used to know Yato. She receives Yuki's message and goes to meet him by the river in the evening. He shows her the picture book and recites the story of the wandering gods Yato and Hiyori. Even after hearing the entire story and seeing Yuki's poor drawing of them living happily together on the last page, Hiyori can't remember Yato. She still asks Yuki to give her the picture book as it might help her remember him, but neither of them knows what is going to happen next. During their picture show, Yato ran into Nora, who showed him that the ball containing Hiyori's memories is growing faint and soon she will forget everything. This proves true because just as Hiyori takes the picture book into her hands, she even forgets about Yuki and asks him why he was giving his notebook to her. Yuki is heartbroken and runs away, and Yato feels his pain. He asks Nora what she has done, and she tells him that she stole more than just his memories from Hiyori. She claims that if Yato doesn't defeat Rabu soon, Hiyori will lose all her memories and become an empty shell. Later, Yato finds Yuki crying to himself because Hiyori forgot him, and he tells him that they will get her memories back. However, he is doubtful that Yuki may break during the fight, and he might turn into a murderer again. Yuki tells him to believe in their teamwork and wipes his tears to cheer Yato on. They visit Hiyori the next morning, just as she is about to leave for school. She doesn't remember either of them, but Yato and Yuki promise her that they will get her memories back. Hiyori starts crying upon hearing this, even though she doesn't know the reason behind it. Yato tells her to believe in him as he is about to teleport away, but Hiyori gets impatient and touches him right then, and as Yato and Yuki teleport, her body falls to the ground. They reach the ruined shrine of Rabu, where Yato and Yuki panic to find that Hiyori came along with them. She herself can't believe that she got teleported and freaks out when she finds she has a tail. Just then, Rabu comes there to greet Yato himself and welcomes him to their final fight. Nora notices Hiyori and calls her an eyesore, so Yato tells her to stay away because it will be dangerous for her to stay here. He transforms Yuki into a sword and charges at Rabu, who turns Nora into a weapon too and waits for his enemy to attack first. Rabu blocks Yato's attack and then gets kicked back. Yato pins him against a wall and jumps to deliver a finish blow, but Rabu claims he is too weak and pushes him away just with the air from the swing of his sword. He controls water and traps Yato in a water ball that cannot be cut from the inside. Yato is losing breath, and even Yuki is taking damage because of being in the water ball, but then Hiyori arrives there and pulls them out. Yato shouts at her for coming to the dangerous area, but then thanks her for saving him. Rabu is infuriated to see him flirt with a girl during battle, and as Yato attacks him again, he asks him to turn back into a god of war. He tosses Yato again, and he attacks him as he slips while getting up. Rabu declares that he wants to fight with a cold-blooded god that rejoices in killing, but Yato tells him to shut up. He tries to hit Rabu by randomly swinging his sword, but fails, and Rabu suddenly notices Hiyori and realizes that she can be the key to turning Yato into his real self. As Yato attacks him, he jumps up and goes to Hiyori, hoping to kill her to enrage Yato. Just as he is about to deliver the killing blow, Yato throws his sword to block his attack and then runs away with Hiyori. They run as far as they can and take shelter behind a rock, where Yato reverts Yuki to his human form and asks him to take Hiyori to safety. He claims that Rabu and Nora want him, and he will keep them distracted to give his friends a chance to escape. However, there is no time for that, as Rabu was already caught up to them. He stands over the rock they are hiding behind and takes out the ball containing Hiyori's memories. He tosses it to the ditch nearby, and Yato rushes to grab it before it gets lost, but Rabu has other plans and he slashes the ball from a distance, shattering it just as Yato gets his hands on it. He is aghast and then returns to Yuki, who is trying to wake up Hiyori since she has lost her consciousness. He panics and asks Yato what they should do, and Yato picks up Hiyori and takes her away. Rabu tells him to forget about the hose and focus on the bros, saying that the girl is in mindless shell now. Yato simply places Hiyori against a rock to rest and ties his scarf around the slight bruise on her hand. He is furious, and Rabu asks him if he hates him now. Rabu claims that this is just what he wants and asks Yato to awaken the hatred sleeping inside him. Yato tells him to shut up and turns Yuki into a sword. Rabu stares at Yato and doesn't even realize that he got cut before getting kicked away and crashing into a rock. He smiles, thinking that the fearsome god of war he knew has returned. Yato tells him to attack him and promises to chop him up so fine that no one can put him together again, and Yuki is terrified of his master now. Rebu attacks Yato, who casually deflects all of his attacks and then moves behind him quickly. Rebu changes his direction and rushes towards him, but this time Yato also rushes towards him, and their collision creates a powerful shockwave. Yato manages to get a clean hit on Rebu, who seems pleased by that and says that it reminds him of their glory days when they fought side by side. He declares that this is the moment his dream comes true and then lifts his sword, creating a giant water column to push Yato away. He then begins to recite a prayer and starts a ritual to turn himself into a vessel for all sorts of evil spirits. He removes his mask, revealing a hole in place of his second eye, and commands all the ghosts in the area to give him their power. The sky and the water pillar turn black as the ghosts rush into Rebu's eye and give him demonic strength. Yato calls him crazy, but Rebu does not care and declares that he needs this power to fight him to death. He rushes to Yato and launches many powerful blows at him, but Yato blocks all of them. They take their battle up a notch and send aerial slashes to Yuch, and Rebu manages to beat Yato in that. In a fast-paced battle, Rebu sends an aerial slash and shatters some rocks just over Hiyori. As soon as Yato realizes it, he rushes towards her, but Rebu sends a water jet and destroys the area. Luckily, Yato reached Hiyori and barely protected her from the falling debris. However, in doing that, Yuki got stuck under a rock, and now Rebu is coming towards them to end the battle. Meanwhile, Hiyori feels like she is floating in an endless dark sea. She does not even remember her name, but as she smells Yato's scent, she recalls that she loves this sweet smell. Her body moves on its own, and she hugs Yato, who is rattled as he sees her open her eyes. Hiyori comforts Yato, calling him by his name, and he is overjoyed that she remembers him. He begins cuddling with her, but since he hasn't asked her for consent, she gets angry and kicks him out. As she lectures him about the importance of consent, Nora can only watch dumbfoundedly as an ordinary human breaks free of her spell. Rebu uses his water magic and grabs her by the leg, bringing her to himself. He points his sword at Yato and asks him why he won't return to his original self and become a god of calamity like him. Yato simply tells him to stop living in the past and asks him to release Hiyori, which makes Rebu realize that she is the reason why Yato has turned docile. He strangles her and declares that she will be sacrificed for him to become even more powerful. Yato summons Yuki and tells him that they will take out Rebu now. Yuki is not confident and thinks that they will hit Hiyori too, but Yato assures him that they will succeed. He says that since Rebu is merged with ghosts right now, killing him will be like creating an upgraded version of a barrier, and they can do it together. Yato enchants his sword, and Rebu notices him, so he sends a water attack towards him. In response, Yato uses a long-distance attack that hits Rebu and cuts the giant rope around the tree that used to be his shrine. Rebu takes damage from that attack, and the ghosts that were merged with him are purified. He feels weak, and Hiyori takes this chance to run back to Yato. She hugs him and says they should return home now, but he spots Rebu walking towards them and decides that his work is not done yet. Yato pushes Hiyori to the side and then tells Rebu that he has heard his wish too. They charge at each other one last time, and Yato deals a fatal blow, cutting Rebu's mask in two. As he falls, his face starts to crumble, and Yato realizes that he has been keeping himself intact by using a curse. Rebu tells him that, as a god of calamity, he knows that his fate is to be hated, feared, and forgotten by the people. Still, he wanted to live on and tried to prolong his life using forbidden techniques. However, as he woke up after 500 years, he realized this world was not for him, and he yearned for death. He wanted a fellow god of calamity to kill him because he would understand him well. Rebu disintegrates, telling Yato that he is the same as him and will share the same fate. Yato tells his dead remains that he is not like him, and then he walks home with Yuki and Hiyori, who now remember them both. Yuki wants to know how she got her memories back, and Hiyori blushes as she tries to hide the fact that it was because of Yato's sweet smell. However, Yato decides to get real with her and seriously tells her that it is the best thing for her to cut her ties with them because then she can live like a normal human. Hiyori doesn't hesitate even for a bit and refuses to cut her ties with Yato or Yuki. They return to Kafuku's place, who feels overjoyed to learn that Hiyori has returned to normal. Yato thinks that it is just a whim that she doesn't want to cut ties with him, but Hiyori replies that she wants to stay with him forever. Everyone takes it as a confession of love, and even Yato blushes upon hearing it. He stretches his hand out to Hiyori, telling her that he will fulfill her wish so that they can stay together, just for 5 cents. Hiyori smiles as she gives him a 5-cent coin, and Yato tells her that her wish has been heard loud and clear and hopes that their fates stay intertwined forever.